All right, welcome back. In our first two parts, we really dug into what the acceleration trap is and the toll it takes on us. But now we get to the good part, the way out. This isn't just theory, it's a practical, common sense roadmap for how we can actually escape this thing and start building a better future. So let's get into it.
We left off last time with this really tricky idea, right? We can't just slam on the brakes. That's not realistic, and it's not even what we want. The real challenge isn't about stopping. It's about fundamentally changing the way we move forward.
And this is the key to our whole conversation today. Escaping the trap isn't about you or me trying to single-handedly fight against some unstoppable force. It's about all of us, together, making a conscious choice to redesign the very systems that are making us feel so overwhelmed. It's about making speed work for us, not against us.
So, a massive redesign. Where do you even start? Well, the good news is we don't down into 3 interconnected layers of change, and it all starts with the one thing we actually have control over, ourselves.
We're going to start small, with us, the individual. Then we'll zoom out to the places we work and spend our time, our institutions. And finally, we'll look at the biggest picture of all, the economic systems that shape, well, everything. You'll see how each layer builds on the one before it.
Okay, so even though the problem is systemic, the power to get things moving always starts with the individual. This isn't about blame, not at all. It's about agency. First up, attention discipline. Consciously deciding where you put your focus instead of letting your phone decide for you. Second, decision pacing, resisting that urge to give an instant answer to everything and giving big choices the time they actually deserve. And finally, long-term thinking, just trying to see beyond the next week or the next news alert. These simple practices, they create the headspace we need to even begin thinking about those bigger changes.
But let's be real. As great as those individual habits are, they can only take you so far. It's tough to think long-term when you're working inside an organization that's built for short-term panic. And that brings us right to our second layer, redesigning the institutions we're all a part of.
At the very heart of the problem with our institutions is this chart. It tells a story that so many of us feel deep down. Economists call it the Great Decoupling. For generations, there was this unspoken promise. When a company does better, its workers get a piece of that success. Well, for the last 40 years or so, that promise has been broken. Productivity just keeps climbing, but for millions of people, real wages have gone completely flat. This right here is why it feels like we're running faster and faster just to stay in the same place.
So, here's the crucial point. If the old deal is broken, we have to write a new one. Things we take for granted, like the standard 40-hour work week, they aren't laws of physics. They're just ideas we came up with for a totally different time. If our new tools and technology let us get more done in less time, shouldn't we redesign how we work to share that benefit?
And this isn't just some fantasy. Just look at these numbers from a huge 4-day workweek pilot program in the UK. The results are pretty staggering. Employee well-being went way up. Fewer people quit their jobs. And here's the kicker. Company revenue didn't just stay the same. In many cases, it actually increased. This is real-world proof that a new bargain, one that shares the gains from productivity, is a win-win.
A new deal also means companies have to change how they think. For way too long, employees have been seen as just a cost on a spreadsheet. Perpetual employability totally flips that idea. It says that companies have a real responsibility to keep investing in their people, to train them, to upskill them, and to see them as assets that grow more valuable over time, not as costs to be cut.
So we've got empowered individuals and we've got responsible companies. But both of those things need a solid foundation to stand on. And that brings us to our third and final layer, building a modern economic foundation, a new kind of social safety net that's actually designed for a world that's always changing.
I love this analogy because it's just so perfect. The idea that you can cram everything you need to know for a 50-year career into your head by the time you're 22 is it's absurd now, right? In a world that's accelerating, we need a system that's built for learning and reinventing yourself over and over again.
So what could that system look like? Well, here's a really practical idea, inspired by a successful program in Singapore. It's called a lifelong skilling wallet. Just imagine having a personal account, funded by the government and maybe your employers over time, that's just for retraining. You could use it to learn a new skill, get a certification, whatever you need, at any point in your career. It's a tool for constant adaptation.
But hang on. Having the money for a class is one thing. How are you supposed to pay your rent while you're taking that class? This is where a modern safety net becomes so important. If we want people to take the leap and learn new things, we have to make it less risky.
We need to create a stable floor for people to stand on while they're in transition. And this is where concepts like a universal basic income start to enter the conversation.
And if you think universal basic income is just some fringe theory, well, take a look at this. It's being actively tested and studied all over the world. From experiments in California to trials in Finland and Kenya, we're gathering real data on what happens when you give people a basic financial floor. The goal is to see if it provides the security needed to navigate this accelerating world.
So when you put all these pieces together, the individual, the institutional, and the economic, what you start to see is a blueprint for a whole new social contract.
The whole point is to build a system where we don't have to choose between making a living, our personal well-being, and having a sense of purpose. This diagram shows that sweet spot we're aiming for, a new model where profit, purpose, and balance aren't fighting each other, but are all working together.
Let's just be honest. The old arrangement where you give a company your whole life in exchange for total security, that's gone. It is not coming back. So we can't keep trying to navigate the future with a map from the past. We have to consciously and deliberately build a new relationship between people, companies, and society.
And here are the 3 pillars of that new contract. It's really simple. First, as individuals, we commit to being lifelong learners. Second, companies commit to investing in their people, like the valuable assets they are. And third, the government provides the foundational security and the tools, like that skilling wallet, to make it all possible. None of these can stand alone. They have to work together.
This brings us to our final thought. We've looked at the problem, we've outlined a path forward, but none of this is guaranteed to happen. It all comes down to the choices we make from here.
It's so easy to feel like these forces of acceleration are just happening to us, but it is so important to remember, technology doesn't have a plan. It's just a tool. We are the ones who decide how to use it, what kind of rules we build around it, and what kind of world we want to create with it.
And that, right there, is probably the single biggest takeaway from this whole series. The point isn't to stop change or to be afraid of speed. The point is to question it, to be intentional about it, to make sure we're steering it towards a future that actually works for human beings. Progress without purpose is really just noise. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the acceleration trap. This analysis was adapted from the really insightful book of the same name. I really hope it's given you a new way to think about the future and our role in shaping it.